Hi there, this is Mike Durr, Kingwood Mortgage Guy, and listen, I just wanted to get back to the basics. I had a call from a potential client that recently had a bankruptcy, and she was asking about how to get back in the game, how to put themselves in a position so that they could buy a house. And so this is what I told them. So how to rebuild your credit and get closer to home ownership. If you've been through financial trauma, like a job loss, medical issues, or divorce, you might have avoided credit altogether. That's just one of the last things that you're thinking about. And that's understandable, but avoiding credit can keep old negative items as the only thing showing up on your credit report. Now let me explain this. What happens is when you start getting behind, you just really avoid anything that's credit oriented by itself. And what happens is that you've got to make choices. You've got to keep a roof over your head. You've got to pay for food and health and stuff like that, but the credit cards are still there. And if you avoid credit and just kind of bail out of everything, the only thing that shows up is the negative stuff. So here's the key when you've caught up and you're back on your feet again, is to rebuild your score, you need positive revolving credit reporting again. Now, that's credit cards. So first thing you have to do is you have to get a credit card. And that usually entails, when you're in that position, that nobody's going to give you a credit card. So you have to get a secured credit card. Okay? These are often available through credit unions and smaller banks. You have to use it lightly. When you get this credit card, the first thing that happens is that you get somebody to give you a secured credit card. You have to make a deposit into their bank or credit union or whatever entity that it is. And you can put in as little as $200 or as much as $500. But what happens is that the bank uses your money to secure the credit that you're given with this credit card. So they're not lending you money, they're lending your own money, and thus they are secured. That's why it's called a secure credit card. So what's going to happen is you get this credit card, and it's critical that you make sure that they report that to the credit bureaus. Without that, there's no use in doing this. How would I use this? Well, you're going to use it one time a month on either gas or maybe a meal once a month. When you go out and spend that, let's just say you spend $50 on a tank of gas, you're done using that credit card. You're not going to use it anymore until you get the bill. You're going to pay the bill. And I used to say leave $5 or $10 on the bill, and that still works. Or you can pay it to zero if you want to. And a lot of times I think now paying it to zero is a positive, just as much as leaving $5 on there. And you're done with that credit card, and then the next time that you're going to use it is after you know that they've received that payment. And now you can go out and you're going to spend $50 a month, depending on what the balance is that you put on. And you're going to either buy your family a meal or you're going to get gas, but not both. You're going to use it one time in that next month. And then what happens is when you get the bill, you pay it off, and you just rinse and repeat. Do this over and over again where you're just using that as a tool. Well, what the credit card industry sees is that you have credit, you're using the credit, and you're paying it responsibly, and you're keeping the balance at somewhere between 10 and 15% of what your limit is. And when they see that, they get the impression that you are handling the credit in a manner that is what they like. Here's the key. If you've had no late payments in the last 12 months, no judgments, no delinquent child support, student loans, or IRS debt, you may be closer to qualifying for a home loan than you actually think. This can raise your score. I've seen it 40 to 60 points on new credit, even more than that. So I encourage you, if you have questions about this, I want you to get on the phone and call me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Okay? Talk to you soon. This is Mike Durr, Kingwood Mortgage Guy. Talk to you next time.